The wave of anti-Israel protests that has swept through universities across America has now reached Australia, igniting a similar movement in some of the country's top educational institutions. On Friday, students at the University of Sydney erected tents on campus to express solidarity with the ongoing protests in the United States and demand the university's divestment from organizations linked to Israel. Similar protests have emerged in universities in Melbourne, Canberra, and other Australian cities, according to Reuters. While police have forcibly removed pro-Palestinian protesters from American campuses, no such incidents have occurred in Australia. However, the movement gained momentum in Australia following police raids on various universities in the United States, sparking widespread demonstrations particularly in major Australian universities. At the University of Sydney, one of the country's largest academic institutions, pro-Palestinian protesters gathered outside the main hall and set up tents. Meanwhile, hundreds of pro-Palestinians pitched tents and staged protests in Melbourne, Canberra, and other Australian cities. Despite the presence of police, protests in Australia have remained peaceful, with no arrests or violent incidents reported. Demonstrators have been chanting slogans against the government and the Prime Minister while expressing solidarity with the Palestinian cause. Australian seafarers have also joined the anti-Israel protests, appearing on various campuses with their families to show support. One protester, 39-year-old Matt, expressed his motivation, saying, "I brought my child because I want Palestinian children to live like him." The protesters' demands echo those of students in the US, Canada, and France, calling for universities to sever ties with Israeli organizations. Sydney University's Vice-Chancellor, Mark Scott, stated that pro-Palestinian protesters would be allowed to stay on campus as long as the protests remained peaceful. However, a separate rally, featuring Australian and Israeli flags, took place a few hundred meters away from the University of Sydney, with speakers expressing concerns about the safety of Jewish students and staff amidst the pro-Palestinian protests. Australia, traditionally a close ally of Israel, has shown support for Tel Aviv's actions. However, anti-Israel sentiments have been on the rise in Australia following Israel's actions in Gaza, leading to increased activism and demonstrations in support of Palestine.